mess in this background here, but
Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us. K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
hi, everybody. I'm fooling around with my camera. We had some technical difficulties tonight, but welcome to our new show, Holistic Health and Hot Mamas. And I'm here with, I feel so short right now because my chair, I'm in a new setup, but I'll have it fixed for next show. But my co-host is Brooklyn Bradley-LaFleur. Welcome, Brooklyn, to Coast. We're so excited to have you here.
Yes, I am so excited to be here. Thank y'all so much for having me. And thank you, Joann, for co-hosting with me because I'm very excited about this show tonight.
Me too. I'm excited about the whole series. So I think we should start out. The listeners know me pretty well by now, the viewers, but let's tell your story. It's pretty compelling, and I think it ties into the whole reason we want to do the show. We wanted to talk about holistic health and self-care and the importance of ourselves, and that is not selfish, but really a necessity and a priority. So I'm going to hand the floor to you. Give the listeners a scoop. You tell your story much better than I do.
So I am Brooklyn Bradley-LaFleur, and 2 years ago, I had an accident. I was running, working out. I was running down the road, and the next thing I know, I'm laying on the ground being picked up by police officers, and nobody has any clue what happened to me, and I didn't know what happened to me, and my husband was having to take care of me and my son. At the time, he was 2 years old, and he was having to do this by himself. And long story short, it was because I was not taking care of myself. My mental health, my emotional health, my physical health, I was doing the bare minimum. And that, I thought I was doing what was right for myself, and come to find out that wasn't enough. But you don't know what you don't know. And so it was so important to me to really dig down deep and research, like, okay, I didn't have any broken bones, but what was wrong with me? I have been working out every single day. When I was pregnant with my son, I was working out every single day. Why all of a sudden am I having an issue? Well, it was because of, not taking care of my health and not doing the due diligence on what chemicals I was putting in my body. And so when you hit rock bottom like that, you think, well, what do I do? Where do I turn? How do I even know what I should be putting in my body? What vitamins should I be taking? Where should I be getting these vitamins? And you don't know. You don't know who to trust, and you don't know where to purchase from, what companies are telling you the truth. So I had to do a lot of research. And I started my company, Brooklyn 3, after this accident because I wanted to share my research with other mompreneurs out there, other people out there, just to help them avoid what I went through or come back from, a similar situation. And it was just very, very important to me that I spread the message and tell my story and help people who also don't know where to go and what, who to turn to for valid information that is the truth, and not just trying to make money off of you. And it's just really rare and so important to get the truth. And so that's a little bit about me and how I got started. And I just kind of want to talk about self-care and mental health and emotional health and physical health and becoming chemical free. And the conversations and sharing your stories are very, very, very important, because you have no idea who you're helping just by telling your truth.
Well, many of the experts say, and philosophers, I don't necessarily know if it's experts, say that really our stories are meant to serve others and our traumas and trials and tribulations. But I think you're leaving out I don't know how much in depth you want to go into your history, but what about the backstory? I think that that's very compelling and really the reason that prompted you. People think that our lives are perfect and that and that we're on the other side, but really your life really started when you were just a teenager. And I think that let's hear that piece of it, because I love that piece. I love your resiliency and where you came. And I think the piece about, even I don't want to divulge too much of your family life, but even your son, I think that as a mother, the stress and anxiety on moms, it's never minimized, certainly, but yours was to a different degree that thankfully most of us don't have to deal with. So let's talk about that.
Absolutely. Because it's such an important, not just my story specifically, but the trauma aspect and how it impacts our mental health. So I got started in my business. I was kind of thrown into business. I always knew that, so I'm a cosmetologist and I own a spa. But that wasn't my goal. My goal in life was to work for my aunt and just be a cosmetologist and throw myself into community service and serving, others and helping others. And that's one of the things that really drives me. And she got a divorce and was basically like, hey, you have to buy this business by Friday. Now, keep in mind, I had just graduated cosmetology school, 6 months prior to this. So I was not even prepared. This was never in the game plan. And she was like, you have to buy this business by Friday, or you have to go and find somewhere else to work. And so I went to the bank, and the next thing I know, I'm a business owner. Well, my ex-husband, I had discovered that he was attempting to live a double life and was succeeding, as far as I knew, at living a double life.
But not only was it your ex-husband, you were newlyweds.
We were newlyweds, and I was opening a spa or a salon. I was doing everything myself at this point. So as much of a spa as I could make it by being one person. And my husband was also living a double life and having an affair and all of kinds of things. And so all of this was going on. And I am one that I keep things to myself. I don't really talk to anyone. If there's something going on with me, I'm going to power through it. I'm going to talk myself through it, and I'm just going to put it behind me, and that's going to be it. And I'm never going to get it off my shoulders. I'm never going to talk it out. I'm just going to hold it in. And, that's going to be the end of it. So I went through all of that. And I ended up finding out about my husband. I got a divorce. I met the man of my dreams. He is such a supportive partner. We had a son, and we found out at the same time that I was now expanding my spa, because I had brought on several different amazing women to work in the spa and expand my brand. At the same time that we were purchasing a building for the very first time, because I had been renting up until this point, we found out that my 10-month-old son had a tumor in his liver. And we were about to have the grand opening, and I was moving to Dallas until further notice. So we had to open the spa, put off the grand opening, move to Dallas to be with my 10-month-old son who was undergoing surgery, during which, my business suffered. I suffered, my family suffered, my son suffered. I mean, it was a very traumatic experience. I didn't talk to anyone. I was down the hall dealing with some things that were coming up at the salon while it was being opened, and things that I needed to take care of back home. And I heard my husband screaming for me. Our son was flatlining, and I still didn't talk about it. To this day, I have only talked about it very little. And it is not good to harbor that. That is one of the things that self-care, it's not just going to be an overnight thing. Your mental health, your physical health, or your emotional health, by changing your lifestyle, it's not an overnight thing. I am doing very well now, and I still, it's still a daily process. So I was dealing with all of that while becoming a new business owner, actually owning a building for the very first time. Because remember, this was not in the cards. I was going to be employed by someone. That was my dream, was to be employed by my aunt and help her and then be a part of my community. And I had no idea what I was doing. And so then after all of that, my business suffered. But we finally moved back when we found out that our son was going to be okay. And then my husband decided to run for a county position. And that also brings a lot of hate and a lot of negativity and a lot of trauma. And, you just power through as a family. And, it was a struggle. It really was. And I never talked about it. And I still haven't talked about it that much. And it just takes time. Every little bit of it takes time. But flash forward to the time of my accident, it was because I had tried to do all of these things and become a business owner and have a son with a tumor and be supportive of my husband, who is also very supportive of me, and be this person that I wanted to be for other people. And because, we harbor, especially as women, we harbor so much trauma within our bodies. And, sometimes we don't ever let it out or do anything about it. And it is so important. And I've just kind of made it my life's mission from now on to share my story, because I know I'm not alone, and to reiterate the importance of self-care and the deeper meaning of self-care, not just the simple meaning of self-care, not just going when you have extra money to get a massage and spoiling yourself. I am talking about the releasing your trauma, your decompression at the end of the day, of a stressful day, your quiet time, your meditation, making sure that you get a good night's sleep so that you have the energy to be a mother, be a wife, be a partner, be successful in your business. It is really hard. And I had no idea how important any of that was until my accident. And so I am very thankful that I went through that. I'm thankful that I had the wake-up call. I was lying to myself for a little while about not necessarily being happy, because I was happy. I have a beautiful family. I had a beautiful home. I have a great supportive husband. But it's more than that. It's about you and your mental health. And are you happy with yourself, not the people that you surround yourself with?
The way that I describe it, because, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my story because I don't know if the listeners all know that, but the way that I describe it oftentimes is that I had just countless happy moments in my life, but I was lacking an underlying happiness inside. And that's really what it was. When we say we're happy, I mean, I had so many supportive people, so many friends, and, our stories are very different, but, at about 18 months of, when my son was 18 months old, he was diagnosed with autism. And I was in denial about that, for not necessarily denial, well, a little bit of denial, but I every recommendation that was given to me, I just went in all in, because that's the way I am. I'm all in or I'm all out. And thankfully I did, because, obviously as the years went by, early intervention and all of those therapies really changed the blueprint of his life. And he had some phenomenal teachers, but for the first 10 years, it was very, very difficult. And I harbored all of that alone, because many people, even in my own family, refused to believe it and really accused me, of depriving my son of a normal, happy childhood. And years later, they apologized, because certainly it is hard to understand. You're sending your 18-month, your 2-year-old baby off to school in a play group and speech therapy. His days were full. And really, my body became a battleground. I carried that trauma, and, I developed eating disorders, and that's how it manifested in myself. And it really took, literally it took 10 years until he had a turnaround. And I think it was a similar, women so often feel as if they have to be the martyr and the warrior and not have standards for ourselves. And I think that that's cultural in many regards, and societal, and really the old stereotypes that we're carrying from generations before us. Luckily, things are turning around, and women are much more independent in many respects and have many more opportunities as life evolves and the nation evolves. But that's really what it is. It's self-care. And I agree. It can be as simple as taking 5 minutes to have a cup of tea at the end of the night. We're not saying it needs to cost money, calling a girlfriend or having, or really just asking for what you need. I never asked. I just assumed and just moved forward. And now I ask people, and if you can't meet me where I need to, I'm not saying you have to fulfill me, but if you can't meet me where I need you to be, then I have to move forward and change. And I don't often sever relationships. I don't do that, but I really change the meaning of it in my life, and the importance. I have to realign that for my own mental health. And I think that's almost the most important thing. I mean, we're going to talk about health and beauty and all types of things as we move. So I love, and I think let's talk about what happened after the breakdown and how you decided to start exploring products for your own physical health, and how that evolved into a business, because I think that that's really key, how you're always looking and testing and helping others find what will work for them.
I'm really glad that you asked this, because I don't want to go into this one specific topic, but I want to touch on it because I want this to be a whole show by itself. But whenever I had my accident, my first question was why? And there were a lot of things that kind of led up to this point. The trauma, the sleepless nights, not just because I had a newborn or a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old. It was because my brain, I couldn't shut my brain off. I have very bad anxiety naturally, on top of having a son with a tumor and having a father who almost died of congestive heart failure without anybody even knowing about it. On top of my husband running for office and people spreading terrible things about us in our small town. So I already had anxiety, but then I have this. And then you wonder, I need to get my hormones in check. I am not the same person that I was, and not in a good way, in a negative way. I don't recognize the person that I see in the mirror. I don't have a sex drive. I'm not fun anymore. I've lost part of my spark. And you think, okay, I'm ready to change this. There is not any part of my life that is not ready to make necessary changes, no matter what that looks like. So where do you start? Who do you trust? Why would you pick this company out there that's probably lying to you just to get your money? All of these people, who do you ask the right questions to? Where do you go to purchase? So I've done the research, and it is amazing how many people are not actually telling the truth. And, you find these lotions, for example. I'm just going to use lotion as an example because I have been shocked. I was the manager of a company who sells tons of lotions, millions and millions of dollars of lotions. I was the manager for 3-ish years. And that lotion would shock you what you were putting on your body's biggest organ, and how that alone, just lotion, without taking into consideration any other things that you're going through or have been through, or childbirth or any of that, what that lotion alone is doing to your body. And so I started digging much deeper. And I'm just going to throw this statistic out there. Like I said, I want to save this for another time, but about 90% of the vitamin C being sold on the market today is fake. So not only do you think you're getting vitamin C, but you're not. So you're not getting it at all. And what you're needing vitamin C for is failing, is suffering. But these companies are telling you that you are getting it. And it's actually being made with mold, which is actually found in most cancers. And so get rid of the cancer and forget that it's even made with mold. You're not getting the vitamin C that you were reaching out to specifically get for a specific problem that you want to solve. You're not getting it, but that company is telling you that you are. And so you have to find the company that's going to tell you the truth. But it doesn't even tell you, even me knowing that, if I go onto Google right now, I actually have to ask the appropriate question before it even tells me what the correct vitamin C is and what the wrong vitamin C is going to do to me. And that is why I opened my store. That is why I started my business. That is why I started doing my lives and reaching out on podcasts and doing talk shows, is because people need to know this. I understand that you don't want to be gluten-free and vegan and all of that. You'd rather just open up a bag of Cheetos and call it a day. And that's fine. That's your prerogative. But you still need to be aware. And by sharing our stories and sharing our information that we have done personally, that's how you're going to get it.
So I read something once, and this was soon after one of my children were born, and it was a study that by the time our children are born, when they're brought into the world, they already have over 200 chemicals in their system. And I think that really is shocking. And for me, there, in regard to autism, and people can speak about vaccinations and what have you. And in my son's case, I firmly believe that it wasn't vaccinations, because just of the timing and how I could see his evolution when I look back in time. Mm-hmm. But I certainly believe it's environmental. Mm-hmm. And just because the cases, when I was and I forget all of the statistics, but I believe when he was born, it was 1 in 1,200, and over time that statistics continues to drop, and today it's at 1 in 68. And what is the only things that have changed in the environment? I don't remember anybody, and I'm certain there were, but I don't remember many families, or any families actually, having children with autism. But now I know somebody in every neighborhood. And of course it's, I'm in that community now, but but it's also much more prevalent. My neighbors, people I went to high school with, there are so many people who have been impacted by that. And I believe that it's based on the chemicals that these children are being exposed to. And that's my personal opinion, of course. I don't, and I'm sure there's some scientific research to validate that, but nothing has ever been conclusive to my knowledge. And I think that you think about it, I mean, and you know more so than I do, shampoos, food, we have no idea what we're eating. That even when we go out to dinner, we have
Yes. Yes. That is something that I struggle with. I love food, y'all. Do not get me wrong. I might be chemical free in the bathroom, but like in the restaurant, I'm not. And it is really hard. And as a mompreneur, a mother-owned business who does it all mostly by herself, it is very hard. And I understand that. And I am not knocking anyone, because I do know firsthand how hard it is. And that's just why I might not be able to control all of what I get from going out to eat and in a restaurant, but I can control what comes in my household. And I think that, that's a good place to start, especially when you're like me and you really want to try your best, and you just do your best. I mean, there are some companies that I have in my store, and I try to keep up to date on company changes from the brands that I do business with in the store. And if one company does something that I don't like or makes changes that I don't like, they go. It doesn't matter if I still have products left or not. I just don't feel right about it. But when you go to a restaurant, you don't know what you're getting, and you just do the best that you can. And I think that that's great in and of itself, just being more conscious about what we're doing. We are surrounded by it 24/7. And there are some things I'm going to share with you on this show in the next couple of weeks that shocked me, and I can't wait to share just so more people are aware. I love that we're expanding our reach, and I'm very excited about it. And I hope that, y'all just become more educated, and it helps y'all and your families and, of course, your children.
So let's talk about and I think that we're open to suggestions too. Anybody who's watching and we don't have any, we have a private chat. I don't know who that is. Let me peek. Oh, it's you. But we don't have any comments from the viewers yet, but we're certainly open to suggestions and where you would like to see the direction of the show. I mean, if you'd like to hear about skincare or cosmetics or supplements, and we can certainly go through all of that, but we're also going to talk about mental health and self-care and maybe we should, we'll develop a format and we dedicate the first 15 minutes to just catching up on our week and talking about anything new that we've learned. And then the second 15 minutes, we talk about supplements or healthcare or food or whatever. And we'll talk about that, but we'll talk about that between us. But if anybody has any ideas or suggestions of what you'd like to hear, and I think that we'll start sharing this to some mom groups and some health and beauty groups and see if what kind of traction we get there, because we certainly just want to be helpful and bring value, especially to moms and just to women in general. I certainly don't want to say just moms, of course, because we're a champion for all women, and that's part of our core and our messaging. So what can we talk about today? What are some tips and strategies, even if we just talk about what we do? What do we do to pamper ourselves? And I think that we do pamper ourselves, and it may not necessarily, it's not always healthy. We're just looking to make a progress in our lives, not perfection, certainly.
Right. I am not a self-care Nazi. That's why I say, as long as you are just trying, we're all just trying the best that we can. I would absolutely love to have people ask us questions. If there's anything that you want to know about, want me to research for you and talk about in the next week, depending on when you're asking your questions, I am all for that. I plan on, with this talk show, covering everything. Of course, I specialize in mompreneur because I am a mompreneur, but this goes beyond that. It's not just for moms. It's not just for business owners. This is for everybody. Like, if you relate to this, if you relate to self-care and wellness and wanting to better yourself, do better for your family, learn how to take better care of yourself, learn how to not let stress overwhelm you or, take over your life. Before I started this health journey, I was stressed all the time. Not even joking, even in high school. Like, my mom used to send me to get regular massages and go to the chiropractor because I was constantly stressed and I would have these like knots on my shoulders. And that just comes with the territory of having bad anxiety and carrying everything on your shoulders. But I have a whole lot more going on now than I did when I was in high school. And so it's even worse. And I've just had to learn how to deal with that. And sometimes it's a disaster, and that's okay. It is okay. That's why we want to learn how to cope with it and deal with that stress and learn how to time manage and learn how to have business versus family and a personal life and not lose who you are and be a wife and be all of the things. And that's one thing that I think I've almost enjoyed, like, figuring it out since my accident, not before my accident, since my accident, just learning how to be a wife and a mompreneur all at the same time while not losing who I am again.
I love that. And so we actually do have and this is a great idea. So Chris, can you bring up Courtney's comment? So Courtney is interested in hearing about children's products. I think that's a great suggestion.
Yes, absolutely. I actually have several. There are 3 companies that I do business with in my store that have children's products. There is a baby line and then a kids line. I have one of my biggest sellers is the kids Tylenol. And I love, like, starting them young and getting, like, there's no telling what I have put in my body from the time I was a kid until now. And so I love that I'm finding companies that do have lines for babies and children. And there's an elderberry that we have right now that you can use on children, but it has to be honey free. So that's a good question for next time that I will write down, and I will come back and let everybody know, because I haven't talked about this, and so I'm not 100% sure, and I don't want to get anything wrong, but why does it have to be honey free to be okay for kids? And then we have this company, and I know the owner personally of this company. She's doing amazing things for children on the vitamin supplement healthcare market. She is amazing. She owns Row Casa Organics, and we do a lot of business together. And she has the children's Tylenol. She has the children's cough syrup. She has like creams, insect repellent, earache salve. She has immune support for the kids. And so I have really loved getting to know those products as being, I have a 4-year-old, and whenever I was never conscious about anything until he got his tumor. And then I've had to become more conscious about it. And that's how we got started with this whole journey. And we were just focusing on doing these things for our children. And then as soon as I had my accident, that's when we were like, okay, we need to do this, not just for our kids, but for us. And I actually saw a quote this past week that was like, Okay, so you'll die for your kids, but will you live for your kids? And living for your kids is keeping yourself healthy along with keeping your kids healthy. And I love that so much. It just really is an eye-opener.
I agree. And let's talk a little bit about self-care. I mean, what do you do? One of the things that I do, and I've spoken about this before on the show, on not this show, but a few different shows and interviews that I've been on, is that my morning routine is very important to me, and it really sets the tone and pace for my whole day. I try to start out with some water. I try to think about what I'm grateful for. I try to do some exercise, and I don't want to say the word try. I do all of those things most of the time. What do you do? I mean, what do you find beneficial? Do you have a morning routine? And it's much more difficult when you have a 4-year-old. I have teenagers, so your morning routine might be structured much more differently than look much differently than mine does. But what do you think about a morning routine? And do you have one? And do you find it beneficial?
So on top of having severe anxiety about everything, I also have OCD. And when I can't be OCD, it makes me have even more anxiety. My way of coping with that is just having a daily routine, a morning routine, a nightly routine, a to-do list, a weekly routine. I have I have 3 books. I have a book that I use just for my store that tells me like what I need to post for my business, what I'm talking about in my business, and what I have scheduled for my business as far as talk shows, podcasts, meetings, social media, that kind of thing. And then I have a book that is just for when I'm behind the chair and when I'm not working at all. So like events, family functions, clients behind the chair, that kind of thing. And so I love that. That keeps me sane most of the time. And then I have another book that is like full of to-dos, like a whole to-do list, and then like about products that I need to order for clients. And so that in itself is a part of my self-care, is having that. So it is super easy for me. All I need to do is open one of my books, and it's a no-brainer. I know what I'm doing. I have a morning routine and I have a nightly routine. My nightly routine is skincare, meditation, decompressing, whether I'm watching a Netflix episode or I'm taking a bubble bath or I'm reading a book. It's just kind of like which one I pick. Sometimes I take a bath and watch Netflix, or take a bath and read a book, and then I take a shower. In the morning, I like to get up. I have to have at least an hour. If I'm feeling adventurous, or if I don't have that much going on, I'll get an hour and a half to 2 hours of coffee, social media for work, not pleasure, because I know that if my social media is done, I can focus on other things for the day, and that relaxes me knowing that that's finished. But I have to have my coffee, and I have to sit and I have to be awake before I have like full-blown conversations with people, or like really dive into business. I need to have me time with my coffee. So an hour at least. Even if I have to get up at 4 to make that hour happen, if I don't have that hour of sitting with my coffee, I will be a basket case, and that's not good for anybody.
I love that. That is that. But I never gave thought to a nightly routine. I don't do that. And that's something. And it's funny, when I was in my most chaotic periods of my life, I remember my nightly routine was when everybody was asleep. It would be the only time that I had. And I would sit and watch something with a bag of chips or something like that. And really, since that time, I no longer have a nightly routine, but I might have to bring that back. I'll keep the chips out of it, but maybe I'll have carrots or something instead. But
I mean, it is what it is. You're trying. No, I love to, like I said, watch an episode of Netflix or 2. Like, there's more than one episode, don't get me wrong. I like to read a book. I like to take a bubble bath, and then I shower, and then I lay down in bed and I meditate. I meditate for 3 hours. Now, I might fall asleep, but I meditate. And when I break my routine, I kind of feel chaotic, and it just keeps me sane. It helps me sleep. And that's just me. I am severe anxiety with OCD, and I just have to do those things. They are not an inconvenience for me. They are a priority, and it helps. And I encourage other people, like, create your schedule, manipulate your schedule to fit things in so you are not stressing, that help you decompress, that help you digest the week, the day. Whatever fits into your schedule, just give yourself something to decompress, because that is very important.
I agree. And I just remembered I do have a nightly routine. I usually catch up on, and I'd like to support my colleagues on Coast to Coast. So I usually watch one of their sports shows.
Yes.
Believe it or not, I'm learning about sports, and they're teaching me about it. So, and that's also something I do. I try to learn something new. Maybe not every day, but certainly every couple of days. And lately it's good, they have me on a course to learn about some fantasy football. So that'll be interesting. I never thought I'd be, speaking about sports in general, nevertheless speaking about them live on air. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, you're going to do great.
Well, thank you. And so, Chris, our producer's on, and he's from Texas as well. So football's a big deal down there, right?
It is a very big deal. Ball in general, football, baseball, basketball, softball, like that's our jam.
So I think that's something too. I always talk about that's a proponent of self-care, getting involved in something, even if it's just a rec softball league, or I don't care if it's a knitting group, or a book club. You guys have your aunt is certainly, she's famous, literally famous for her book club, and that's something of interest. So I mean, self-care is so broad, and I think people sometimes think when we talk about self-care, we're saying, go get your nails done, get a massage, or a facial, but we're not speaking about that. It can be as minute as a telephone call, a text, a chapter of a book, or sitting down and watching Netflix, or having that hour with your coffee. And I don't want people to think that it's going to break the bank to do a little bit of self-care. And and the profit is so much more valuable, even if you did spend $20, or I don't know how much it is across the country, but $30 here to get your nails done. Just do it. Take a few moments if you can afford to do it. But you can't. The thing is, you can't afford not to take some time for yourself. You don't have to spend money doing it, but you don't want to be in the positions that we were in, because it's so hard to come back from that. It's possible, but if you start, like you said, if we start these children young, and you really can change their lives.
Yes. When I got pregnant, I instantly was like, this is the end of me. I mean, you mentally prepare to lose yourself. It is no longer about you. Your family comes first. Your kid comes first. You don't do what you like to do anymore. And that is not even true. Don't lose yourself. Do not lose yourself because you are becoming a mother. Don't lose yourself because you're becoming a wife. Don't lose yourself because you're becoming a business owner. You have to hold on to who you are, because you have to stay true to yourself, because that's how you will thrive in your business. Being who you are, that's how you're going to be, the best mother that you can be, the best wife. Don't ever think that you have to give up who you are, because that is not true at all. And like you said earlier, self-care, it does not have to break the bank. Go run, go sit outside and have a glass of wine, go for a walk, read a book, listen to the music that you like to listen to, go do a dance that you learned in high school that you haven't done in forever, and let loose, call your friend, go eat something delicious. I mean, it doesn't have to be go have a $500 spa day or get plastic surgery, or, it doesn't have to be that. It is as simple as taking a bubble bath in silence, even if it's for 30 minutes. And
even if it's for 3 minutes.
Oh my gosh. Even if you just go in the bathroom and sit on the toilet for 1 minute, I mean, just have that moment to yourself.
Right, because especially young moms, there you have very little privacy. I remember, the bathroom door, you might as well not lock it because someone will be pounding on it as soon as I shut it.
And if it's not your kid, it's going to be your cat or your dogs. I know. I know. I have a very needy cat, and she's just as bad as my son is.
Pets are also, you're right, they are very time consuming, but pets are a form of self-care for many people, when they're such a great source of companionship and dedication. I think that we talk about relationships in our lives. And I actually had a conversation with somebody about this today. It's easy to speak about the cliches, happiness comes from within, and that's true, but certainly relationships enhance our lives. It's the same thing when people say, money doesn't make you happy, but the reality is money makes it a lot easier to facilitate that happiness. So,
yep.
I hate those blanket statements because they lead people to believe that, if you're not living up to those philosophical ideals, then your life is less than perfect. So we certainly, I don't want to speak for you, but I certainly don't believe either of those mantras are absolutes by any means.
Right.
So and now I forgot where I was going with all that, but
right.
I even forgot the mantras the happiness about relationships. So there's also, I think, room when we are saying, you don't have to change yourself, but there's nothing wrong with evolving and growing.
Right.
And that's where I was going with the relationship piece. I think that is particularly women who get married and think that, well, this relationship doesn't need to grow or change. And oftentimes men aren't geared for growth and personal development that we are. They are resistant to change, but that doesn't mean that should hold you back. Continue to develop and evolve and grow. And I find that oftentimes, if the person in your life genuinely cares for you, they'll come along for the ride at some point. They may not be as quick on the gas pedal as you are, but if the relationship is worth it, and in most cases it is, they're gonna come along too. So don't hold yourself back. Don't make yourself smaller to fit into somebody else's box.
That's right. I made that mistake once. I will not do it again, but I am all about growing and evolving and learning. I love to learn. I didn't used to love to learn, but now I do. And I love having conversations with people, new people about different topics, learning new information and applying it to my life and my beliefs. And all about evolving. I did want to say, one of my forms of self-care, we were talking about your animals. In the morning when I'm having my coffee and my cat climbs into my lap. And there's a meme or a TikTok going around right now that's like, whenever this happens, and it's a video of a cat is sitting in its owner's lap, and it's like, whenever this happens, that's it, that you can't do anything else. And I totally understand that, because when my cat gets in my lap, that's one of the reasons why I need an hour or an hour and a half to 2 hours, is because my cat is in my lap and I can't move. And, you're like, you just try to ease out from underneath them so you don't disturb them. But I love it. I have to have her and my coffee every morning, and I just watch the sunrise, and I just mentally prepare for my day. And yes, And she is a huge part of that for me.
Perfect. So we're getting down. We have 8 minutes left. Where do we want to go? Do we want to, we talked about some tips and tricks for self-care. We want to give a sneak peek of what we're going to talk about next week. We're going to talk about children's products. I think
Yes, I think we should.
We want to honor that. And, I think we'll have to do some. So maybe we'll put a poll out and see what people would like to we'll brainstorm, and then we'll put a poll out and see what the listeners would like to talk about. Certainly self-care is one of that. But I think too, we want to bring in some self-care. It could also means beauty. We all like to look good, certainly, even, and we're not saying, any shape, size, or philosophy on beauty. We all have different perspectives, but we can talk about a little bit of, our favorite brand, our favorite shades of makeup or brands, or bring something on, do some sampling.
Yes.
We could, you tell me your favorite products. I'll go pick them up, and then we can sample them on the show.
Yes, and I am open to, if anybody listening, I am open to all of the questions. Like if you want me to go out and find some blue eyeshadow and do a blue eyeshadow tutorial, I am down. If you want me to show my nighttime regimen, like I am down. I am here for y'all, and I want to talk about all the things self-care, wellness. I will go and do some research, anything. So I welcome questions, anything like that.
And I do too. And I will be the guinea pig. If you need me to wear purple blush, I'll do it.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll expand my horizons. I'm pretty conservative, but hey, for the sake of this show and our viewers, I'll dye my hair purple if I have to, or at least temporarily. I'll put something a washout color. So if anybody wants us to do anything a little bit off the cuff, a little bit outlandish, we could do that too. In regards to health and beauty, people, we're not saying we're going to do anything too outlandish.
Oh, right. Yes. In self-care, health, wellness, like.
We're not going to rob a bank or anything like that. So we do have reputations we need to uphold.
Yes.
So let's give a few. Let's put out a challenge. What do we want to challenge people to do? I say give yourself. And some people say they don't have time for self-care, but let's say this. Let's give yourself 15 minutes, at least 15 minutes more than you typically do. If you do less than 30 minutes, then give yourself at least 15. And for anybody else out there, and have a piece of, like we said, have a piece of chocolate, soak in the tub, just do something, or watch some sultry show that you wouldn't typically do, and you might find appealing. So, and next week, that's what we'll say. What did you do? We're going to challenge people, and we don't have I don't know how many live viewers we have, but we're going to put it out, and we'll get comments and questions throughout the course of the week, and we'll put that poll out, and we'll see where things go. So
this week's challenge is, we want you to give 15 minutes to yourself of something that you love, and then we will ask you about it next week.
Perfect. And then we'll do the same. We'll do 15 minutes of something new, or something enhanced. Well, how about this? We'll each do some research and find some new form of self-care that we can introduce to the listeners. Maybe we'll find something that people do in Bangladesh. Maybe it's eat frog legs or something. That would be interesting to figure out what different cultures and different countries women do for self-care. I think that might be a little segment we could do.
I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm over here making notes in case anyone's wondering what I'm doing.
Well, that's part of your routine. So we already know that you're a voracious note taker.
I am. I have notes everywhere, all over the place.
So perfect. So we're going to do that, self-care across the globe. That could be one of our segments, and we're going to do baby products, and we're going to continue to evolve and grow. I think we had a great first show. What do you think?
I had so much fun. I have loved this. I wasn't nervous. I didn't really know how it was going to go, but I was instantly all for it. I love to talk. I love to spread my story. I love to chat with other people. And so I'm excited. I am here for all of it. And I cannot wait until next week.
All right. So Chris, bring up Courtney. Courtney has another comment, and she's excited too. She's excited for the challenge. Great show, ladies. So we already have our top fan. Courtney is already
Yay!
our top fan.
Thank you, Courtney.
So we're looking forward to. Thanks for the suggestion about the baby products, and
Yes.
thanks for accepting our challenge. And yeah, once we start learning about other countries, we'll be challenging you to. Who knows what we'll be challenging you to do?
I know.
Yeah.
We might even take a vacation down.
Right. We'll go on location to Turkey. We could be the snake charmers, something exciting, and that could be self-care. And we'll continue to learn and grow too. And I'm excited for that. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to thank, as always. I'm going to give you a minute, and then I'll close like I always do. If you want to say goodbye.
I do. Thank you guys so much. Please feel free to ask me any questions. I am looking forward to next week, and I hope that y'all enjoy the challenge. Thank you so much for sharing this video and for coming on and chatting with us. And even if you're watching a replay or watching it from a different platform, please, please, please just say hello, ask us any questions, and come and see us next Monday at 5 p.m. Central Time.
Yes, and you can reach out to us on the network if you send us a comment, or you can send us personal messages. And I want to thank the listeners in Brooklyn. Thanks so much for agreeing to do this show. It's really broadened our horizons here on Coast to Coast, and this is exactly what we wanted to do. And you really exceeded our expectations. So I can't thank you enough for and then asking me to co-host. I was going to let you do it solo, and you asked me to come on board, and I love it already. It's one of my favorites on the network. So I always close by thanking Chris behind the scenes. He's the best producer, certainly on this network and in the biz, as far as I'm concerned. So thanks, Chris. You can play us out.